A Japanese proverb says, "When you master one thing, you master yourself." But the truth is, most women don't realize they are standing at the doorway of mastery until life gently forces them to pause. Sometimes it happens after a quiet disappointment, sometimes after a small victory, and sometimes in the stillness of an ordinary day. A woman looks at something she has done 1,000 times before, pouring tea, writing a single sentence, making a choice, and feels a sudden urge to do it differently. Not perfectly, not impressively, but with a depth she has never allowed herself before. This desire often appears in midlife, when a woman has carried decades of responsibilities, expectations, and invisible emotional labor. She begins to feel something shifting inside her. Not a crisis, a calling. The samurai believed that mastery was not about becoming exceptional. It was about becoming present. They trained not to impress others but to understand themselves. And for a woman today, this ancient wisdom feels surprisingly modern, almost intimate, like a quiet reminder of something she once knew but forgot. Maybe you felt it too. A craving to slow down but also to refine. A longing to give your energy to things that matter. A desire to reclaim the parts of you that once felt alive. Women often think they need to change their entire lives to feel this again. But Japanese wisdom says the opposite. The smallest shift in intention can transform everything. Think about the last time you completed something quickly just to get it done. The last time you rushed through a moment that deserved your full presence. The last time you told yourself, "This is good enough," even though a deeper part of you knew you were capable of more. Not for others, for yourself. Mastery begins exactly there. In the quiet awareness that you are ready for something deeper. Before we continue, I would love to hear from you. What is one area of your life where you secretly wish you could become exceptional? Not for the world but for your own soul. Feel free to share it in the comments. Your voice matters here. In Japan, the concept of kihon teaches that the foundation of all excellence is the practice of simple things. Samurai trained for decades, yet every morning they returned to the basics. Not because they were unskilled but because they understood a profound truth. When the fundamentals become flawless, everything built upon them becomes extraordinary. Women, especially in midlife, often overlook this. They try to leap into transformation with intensity, hoping to outrun time or make up for the dreams they postponed. But mastery is gentle. It is not a sprint. It is a returning. Kihon invites a woman to rediscover the beauty of doing one simple thing deeply and well. Making her bed with intention. Preparing her morning coffee as if it were a ritual of honoring her own energy. Breathing with awareness before she speaks. Choosing one action to refine instead of a dozen to control. When a woman begins practicing kihon, she often feels something unexpected. A sense of dignity rising quietly inside her. She no longer rushes. She no longer apologizes for taking her time. She begins to relish the precision of her own presence. But mastery does not end with beginnings. It also lives in what comes after. The second samurai teaching, zanshin, means the remaining mind, the awareness that lingers after an action is completed. Samurai never lowered their guard the moment a strike ended. They stayed fully present through the follow-through. For modern women, zanshin reveals something essential. Finishing with intention is an act of self-respect. How often do women finish 90% of something and then move on? A message half written. A project almost complete. A promise to themselves abandoned as soon as life becomes loud again. Zanshin invites a woman to return to her center and finish with the same care she began with. Finishing well is a form of emotional mastery. It teaches a woman that her efforts are worthy of attention, not just in the beginning when motivation is high, but at the end when doubt or fatigue tries to steal her devotion. And this brings us to the most intimate part of mastery, the mind that carries it. The third samurai principle, fudōshin, translates to immovable mind. It is not about being unfeeling or rigid. It is about cultivating a calm inner ground even when life sways around you. Women know how easily their minds can be shaken. By comparison, by criticism, by memory, by uncertainty, by the quiet fear of running out of time. But fudōshin teaches that steadiness is not something you wait to feel. It is something you practice. A woman becomes immovable not by hardening, but by softening into clarity. She remembers why she started. She returns to her own path. She stops measuring herself through the eyes of others. She practices presence even when she feels imperfect. Mastery, in the feminine sense, is not a destination. It is a relationship with one's own attention, one's own devotion, and one's own becoming. When a woman approaches life this way, even the simplest actions become sacred. She no longer walks through her days unconsciously. She moves like someone who is quietly crafting an inner world of excellence, one breath at a time. And the most beautiful part is this: mastery does not make a woman rigid. It makes her more alive. Mastery becomes something deeper when a woman begins to notice how her inner world influences every action she takes. In Japanese philosophy, the idea of internal refinement is considered just as important as technique. A woman can practice the fundamentals and finish things with care, but if her heart is overwhelmed, scattered, or weighed down by old stories, she will always feel as though something inside her is holding her back. This is why Japanese masters often said the true battle is not with the sword but with the self. And for women, this truth carries a tenderness that feels almost sacred. There is a moment when a woman realizes that her pursuit of mastery is not really about becoming skilled. It is about becoming whole. The external world may tell her she needs more discipline, more effort, more perfection, but deep inside she feels the opposite. She needs more harmony, more alignment, more gentleness in the way she treats her own thoughts. In Japan, this harmony is often described through the concept of mind-heart unity. A woman cannot excel in anything when her mind travels in one direction and her heart in another. Many women have lived years in this split, showing strength on the outside while carrying exhaustion within, fulfilling obligations while their deeper desires remain untouched, moving quickly while craving stillness. Mastery invites her to bring these two parts back together. When a woman begins listening to herself with honesty, she discovers that her struggles are not signs of weakness. They are invitations. The distraction she fights is often a call for meaning. The procrastination she resents might be a quiet request for clarity. The self-doubt she hides may be her heart asking to be seen in a new and compassionate way. Japanese masters believed that understanding oneself was the highest form of training. And women, with their emotional intuition, are naturally gifted in this art. They simply need permission to use it for themselves, not only for others. Imagine a woman who has spent decades caring for everyone around her. She knows how to sense the needs of her children, her partner, her aging parents, sometimes even before they speak. She has mastered emotional attunement, yet rarely turns that same gift inward. When she finally does, something profound happens. She begins to read her own heart with the same sensitivity. She begins to recognize which habits drain her energy and which ones nourish her spirit. She begins to hear the quiet guidance that was always there but buried beneath responsibility. This is where the path of mastery transforms from discipline into something far more intimate, a return to authenticity. As a woman moves deeper into this journey, she may notice an unexpected shift. Things that once felt ordinary begin to feel meaningful. A small morning ritual becomes a grounding anchor. A simple walk becomes a moment of presence. A single decision made with clarity changes the emotional tone of her entire day. Lifelong habits start to loosen because she understands their emotional roots instead of fighting them with force. This is the silent power of feminine mastery. Change that unfolds from within rather than being imposed from the outside. Halfway through this journey, I want to gently invite you. If this message is resonating with you, feel welcome to subscribe to the channel so we can walk this path together. Your presence enriches this circle of wisdom in ways you may not even realize. Japanese masters often said that the person who understands their inner landscape becomes capable of anything. What holds most women back is not a lack of potential but a lifetime of being interrupted from themselves. Every time she prioritized someone else's needs, every time she silenced her own desires to keep the peace, every time she believed she had to earn her worth through service, a piece of her authentic expression became dimmer. Mastery invites her to turn the light back on. As women age, they often become more honest about what they want. Not louder, just clearer. They begin removing what feels heavy and welcoming what feels true. They start valuing their time differently. They recognize their own emotional patterns with depth and maturity. They learn to move with intention rather than obligation. And most beautifully, they begin embracing the version of themselves that was always waiting beneath the layers of duty and expectation. This is why mastery in a woman's life does not look like rigid discipline. It looks like emotional clarity. It looks like boundaries spoken with softness. It looks like choosing actions that align with her values rather than her fears. It looks like letting go of the pressure to be exceptional for the world and deciding to become exceptional for her own soul. One of the most profound Japanese teachings is that a person becomes skilled by becoming sincere. A woman who is sincere with herself moves differently. She no longer hides her longing. She no longer apologizes for needing space. She no longer suppresses her creativity, her curiosity, or her desire to refine her life. She becomes the kind of woman whose presence alone inspires others, not because she tries to, but because she has cultivated a quiet depth that cannot be imitated. In the samurai tradition, a master was not the loudest, the fastest, or the strongest. A master was the calm one, the intentional one, the one who acted from alignment rather than impulse. Women in midlife often discover this naturally. They grow tired of chaos. They grow unwilling to waste their energy. They grow deeply committed to their own peace. And from that peace, mastery flows with surprising ease. When a woman steps into this level of presence, she no longer fears starting something new. She no longer sees age as a barrier. She no longer doubts her ability to refine anything she touches. She realizes that the wisdom she carries is not a limitation. It is her greatest advantage. Japanese masters believed that maturity brought refinement, and refinement was the essence of beauty. A woman who embraces this becomes unstoppable, not through force but through grace. Mastery becomes a mirror. It reflects back to a woman the truth she forgot in the rush of life. She is capable of extraordinary depth. She is capable of extraordinary devotion. She is capable of transforming any part of her life, one intentional choice at a time. And perhaps the most beautiful part of all is this: the journey has only just begun. There comes a moment in every woman's journey toward mastery when she realizes something unexpected. The very thing she once considered a flaw, a weakness, or an obstacle was actually an unopened doorway. This realization rarely arrives loudly. It often appears in a quiet shift inside her chest, like a soft exhale she didn't know she was holding. She begins to understand that every habit, every distraction, every moment of hesitation was not a sign of failure, but a sign of unmet emotion. And when she brings compassion instead of judgment, the doorway opens. Japanese wisdom teaches that each struggle is a teacher. When a woman feels overwhelmed, life is asking her to simplify. When she avoids something important, life is asking her to align. When she feels scattered, life is asking her to breathe. When she feels disconnected, life is asking her to return to herself. The samurai did not fear these internal signals. They studied them. They believed the heart, when listened to, revealed the path more clearly than strategy ever could. A woman walking the path of mastery begins to feel this truth deeply. She notices that when her emotions soften, her actions naturally refine. She becomes more deliberate, less reactive. More thoughtful, less hurried. And something beautiful begins to happen. She no longer strives to control her life. She begins to shape it. This shaping does not come through pressure. It comes through coherence. When her thoughts, emotions, and intentions move together, she becomes powerful in a way that is quiet yet undeniable. She discovers a rhythm that feels like coming home. And as she follows it, her entire life begins to change. Subtly at first, then unmistakably. Mastery for a woman is not about doing more. It is about becoming more herself. It is the process of peeling away layers of apology, exhaustion, and self-doubt until she stands in the clarity of who she truly is. This clarity is not loud. It is steady. It is soft. It is confident in a way that does not need to be declared. Japanese masters believed that the most refined presence was the one that did not announce itself. Women who embrace this discover an elegance that cannot be taught. As she progresses, she begins noticing how her energy influences everything she touches. When she enters a room with intention, the atmosphere shifts. When she speaks with grounded certainty, people listen differently. When she approaches work with devotion rather than obligation, the quality transforms. When she moves through her day with awareness, even the simplest tasks become expressions of her inner artistry. This is the essence of feminine mastery. The ordinary becomes extraordinary because her presence elevates it. But mastery also asks for courage. The courage to release what no longer belongs. In Japan, there is a practice of letting go called nagar, which means allow it to flow away. It teaches that holding on to what has completed its purpose creates stagnation. A woman walking the path of mastery begins to feel when something in her life has reached its natural end. A habit, a belief, a pattern of overgiving, a role she no longer fits. She learns to release without guilt, trusting that what is authentic will remain. This letting go is not loss. It is refinement. Many women discover that the hardest thing to release is the version of themselves they became out of necessity. The strong one. The responsible one. The one who held everything together. The one who kept going even when she was tired. These versions were essential at certain times, but mastery invites her to choose who she wants to be now. She realizes she no longer needs to armor herself. She can grow without carrying the weight of who she used to be. As she softens into this new identity, something profound happens. Her actions become expressions of harmony rather than obligation. Her boundaries become acts of self-honoring rather than defense. Her voice becomes clearer, not louder. She stops measuring her worth by productivity and begins measuring it by presence. She stops running and begins arriving, every day in every moment inside her own life. This is the quiet revelation at the heart of mastery. A woman does not need to become extraordinary. She needs to allow herself to be fully present. And when she is present, everything she does becomes extraordinary. The samurai knew this. They believed the mastery of self was the highest form of excellence. A woman today carries that same potential not in spite of her age but because of it. Every year has given her insight. Every challenge has given her resilience. Every heartbreak has given her depth. The final step in her journey is acceptance. A deep, gentle acceptance of her own unfolding. In Japanese teachings, acceptance is not passive. It is powerful. It means seeing oneself with honesty and compassion. It means recognizing the strength beneath the scars. It means embracing her imperfections as part of her artistry. When a woman accepts herself fully, she stops trying to earn her place in the world. She realizes she already belongs. With this acceptance, she steps into a new dimension of mastery. Not the mastery of a warrior, though she has fought many battles. Not the mastery of a performer, though she has carried countless roles. But the mastery of a woman who knows herself, who trusts her rhythm, honors her boundaries, tends to her spirit, and refines her life with intention. This is the woman who does anything exceptionally well. Not because she forces herself into excellence, but because she pours sincerity into everything she touches. Her life becomes her practice. Her presence becomes her art. And her heart becomes her guide. If this journey touched something within you, I invite you to step further into this circle of feminine wisdom. If you feel called, subscribe and continue walking this path with us. Mastery is not walked alone. It is shared, witnessed, and nurtured by women who recognize their own strength reflected in one another.